help me in welcoming Reverend Lorina Pyle.
Sorry, it takes me a minute. Just had a little bit of setback here, little leg surgery. Good morning.
Good morning.
Okay, so before I get started, I'd like for everybody just to be able to become centered and connected. So if you'd please close your eyes for a minute. Take in a deep breath. Take in another breath. Exhaling, allowing yourself to become here and present, letting go of all the thoughts, worries, and cares of yesterday and what needs to be done tomorrow. Take in another breath. Feel the connection of your feet on the floor. This isn't just a floor, this is Mother Earth. Us in our human form, we are connected to this beautiful sanctuary that we chose to come here. So allow yourself to connect in this moment. Allow yourself to also recognize that you are connected to the source. Whatever way that you may visually see and connect with heaven, allow yourself to feel this beautiful connection of heaven as a beaming white light coming down from the heavens and connecting into the top of your head. And as you breathe in, allow that beam of light to move all the way down through the heavens and the sky and the ceiling and straight into the top of your head. Breathe in again and pull that beautiful heavenly light all the way down through your body, all the way down to your feet, and all the way down into Mother Earth. And we ask that our wonderful guides, angels and healers, will come into our vibration to allow us to connect and receive in whatever way that brings us peace, harmony, and information for our highest and best good. Allow us all in this moment to be connected to the presence of God, of the universe, of the angels, of that existence of love, light, and peace that exists within us. Take in another deep breath. Feel the peace that exists within you. And in this moment, we are centered, we are connected, we are able to receive as well as give. And so it is. And slowly open your eyes and come back. Feeling calm, open. Okay, I'm going to stay on target here. I wrote all this out because I tend to take different paths, and to me, I might need that box of tissue. I'm going to try not to get emotional, but I'm going to do my best to do this. I prayed a lot about this while writing my speech, and I've chose to put it on paper and articulate it because I wanted to stay on key and give a certain purpose to this lecture. My lecture today is called Unconditional Self-Love. In the Bible, it says in 1 John chapter 4, verse 7, "Beloved, let us love one another, because love is from God, and everyone who loves is born of God and knows God." Unconditional self-love. We have all heard at some point in our lives that in order to truly know love, we first have to have love for ourselves. Throughout my life and all of my experiences that I've ever had with others and myself, this element of love has seemed to be the most difficult to obtain. I thought deeply about this lecture and its importance. It is so easy to say, you need to love yourself first, or don't wait for others to love you, because if you truly love yourself, then it'll be easy for others to love you. So easy just to let it roll off the tongue. So easy just to dismiss it as a simple saying. So hard to truly achieve and know. Both of these statements are true, and for some it comes easy, but sadly, for most, it isn't. How do you teach someone to love themselves? Sometimes words are not enough. Medication is certainly not enough, even though that is how some psychiatrists try to help steady you into a position of healing. Yes, medication is helpful, but only when given appropriately and combined with the proper channels of reprogramming. Reprogramming, what does that mean? Well, this is what brought me to the meat of my lecture, and I want to talk to you about unconditional self-love. I'm going to share a story with you, because we've been taught since childhood how to connect through stories. There once was a little girl. She was born with big green eyes and beautiful blonde hair. She loved to reach out her hand and lovingly hold the finger of who was holding her. It was obvious at an early age that this little girl loved to feel the connection of those around her. She was a dream come true to her mother, and her father was so proud. He made it obvious, as he stated, "She's my little peanut." Sorry. Okay. Give me a second here. Okay. "She's my little peanut," and her parents promised each day that they would always care for her and raise her together. It wouldn't be long before the strains of life would break that promise. Difficult times came along, and the parents began to drift apart. This was due to stress, the lack of money, jealousy, and alcohol. The little girl who once meant the world to them would now be dropped off their grandmother's house often and thought of as a nuisance. The nurturing that she was used to receiving daily would now be very limited. Her grandmother was very rough. She was a no-nonsense woman who clearly neither had time or patience for children. Peanut would easily find comfort in being alone, and while left in her crib to play quietly for hours, she would keep herself company by communicating with her own reflection. She looked in her eyes and she wondered, who am I? Really, who am I? What was my connection to the world, and why am I here? She loved the reflection and felt somehow important. She loved to sing and talk to God, even though she didn't really know him. She loved her imaginary friends, She loved colors, and the colors would excite her. She was quite fond of the material chiffon because of the way it felt and flowed. Her favorite ice cream was rainbow sherbet because she thought that having all the magical colors of the rainbow in one cone was amazing. Even amongst the storm that surrounded her life, she still saw the world as an incredible, musical, colorful place. And when she played in the yard at 3, her dad and her uncle took her away from her mom. She had no idea that that would be the last connection she would ever have to her mother. Soon she was introduced to a new mom named Tommy. The transition happened so quickly that fortunately for her, her new mommy was amazing. Peanut was the miracle that Tommy had always prayed for because she was unable to have children of her own. She was so proud of her new daughter. Tommy was extra gentle when she brushed and styled her long golden hair, which now reached down to her knees. She constantly gave her words of encouragement, and they were whispered into Peanut's ear, always. Everywhere they went, Tommy got compliments on what a beautiful, well-mannered, well-spoken daughter that she had. She was so proud, and she shared that pride with little Peanut so that Peanut knew how amazing she was too. Everything Tommy did was centered around her. She taught her how to work out, how to enjoy the sun and work on that special sun-kissed tan, how to care for her skin every day because she was special, that she needed to apply lotion and keep her skin soft, how to savor your favorite foods like spaghetti and yogurt. They sang and they danced together. They played dress-up. Peanut loved herself. She adored her own reflection. She loved everyone she met. She adored the flowers and the bees, and she saw beauty in everyone, and life was good. Sadly, it all came to an abrupt halt. Just as she was taken away from her real mom, she was taken away from Tommy as well. She got her second new mommy at the age of 4, and this woman would be nothing like Tommy. Tommy, in fact, she would closely resemble like Tommy, and then this new mommy would resemble the mean stepmothers that were often depicted in the children's stories. Even though it wasn't her new mom, even though it wasn't what her new mom displayed to the outside world, Beverly was jealous, she was hateful, and she was violent. It wouldn't be long before all of the good within the beautiful little girl would be transformed into darkness. The brainwashing began instantly by Beverly and her new stepbrother Donnie. There would never be any words of encouragement, and it would all be replaced by, "Who do you think you are? You're no one special. No one really likes you. You're just nothing but an annoying brat who is tolerated. Your hair is ugly, and it's more work than it is worth." She would scold as she carelessly ripped at it with her rat-tailed comb. "There is no need for you to talk because no one wants to hear anything that you have to say. You're worthless, and you're stupid, and you'll never amount to anything. You don't deserve to eat, and you don't deserve to drink." I could go on and on and on. The daily verbal abuse and the physical abuse chipped away at anything good that existed within her. Donald, the stepbrother, terrorized her physically by sexually abusing her. He would use his own brainwashing techniques to disempower her so that she would remain his slave. This would go on for 10 years. The first 3 years of her life may have been unstable, But she loved herself, and she loved everything around her. She found comfort in her reflection, and she trusted everyone. Unfortunately, that would not remain her reality. By the age of 4, within a short time, all of her beliefs and her reality would be completely reprogrammed. Her hair was cut short, but that was okay because she thought it was ugly anyways. She didn't want to look at anyone and didn't want anyone to look at her because she knew she was ugly, and she thought that everyone who looked at her was making fun of her. Worst of all, she hated her reflection. Instead of looking deep into her eyes, she would avoid them, looking briefly only at the surface. Occasionally, she would take the time to say, "I hate you," or "I wish you would die." The world was no longer magical. She no longer had self-worth, and everyone was untrustable. Love now was intangible. For the next 40 years, she would struggle through anxieties, self-hate, bipolar disorder, depression, simply put, post-traumatic stress disorder, another label. James, in the book of James, chapter 3, verse 5, "The tongue is a small thing, but what enormous damage it can do." Yes, this is my story. And it's chronicled. Sorry, I had it here. It's chronicled in this book. The hardest book I ever had to write. It took 12 years. But if you ever want to know about yourself, how to heal, and how to find out who you are, write your story. And even further, if you want to know who you are and how far you've come, write your own eulogy. And that'll tell you how you want the world to remember you. This is the first book with 2 books to follow. The title is Damaged, a survivor's story of the damage done by sexual and physical abuse. Many have asked me, here's the important part, so what happened to change the darkness, self-programmed perception of who you are? Well, the Reader's Digest version is, one miraculous day, June 2nd, 2006, 7:30 p.m., when I least expected it. I went to a concert by Blue Wolf and a few others at Harmony Grove. I did not expect anything except to listen to a wonderful channeled musical healing service. Well, I was wrong. That night changed my life forever. Reverend Jean Holmes would escort that broken, traumatized girl through transgressional inner child rescue. With the help of my husband and a room full of healers, little did I know that my life would be transformed and changed forever. On the dot. There just isn't enough time right now to share everything that I experienced, but I will share that in book 3, which will be titled Free. But I will share a little bit of some of what happened. Every part of my being changed, not only on the inside, but on the outside as well. I was so energized and happy and full of love. Immediately, whatever she did, she set all those little girls, all that broken spirit, the damage. For some reason, all she had to do was walk me through that, and it just disappeared. It was nothing less than phenomenal. You know, you've heard of NDE, near-death experience. Well, mine was an STE, and that's a spiritually transformative experience. I was able to forgive. I was able to see myself as a separate entity than the one that I was programmed to see myself as. So the next morning, I'm really cutting a lot out. This was the most amazing day ever, and that was the next morning. I went into the bathroom. I looked in the mirror. Remember all the 40 years of hating my reflection and not being able to stand to see what I saw? I wasn't looking at that same girl anymore. I was looking at the healed version. I could hardly believe what I saw when I looked in the mirror. I saw the beautiful girl that used to catch my attention when I was 3 years old. She was much older now, but her eyes were the same. I cried out. I cried out for my husband. Worried, he came running to see what was wrong with me, and he stepped into the doorway. I was face to face with myself in the mirror. I turned to look at him. The tears were streaming down my face. I said, "Look at me. I'm beautiful. I'm beautiful. I'm beautiful." I was crying tears of joy. And now, my big husband, who looks stronger and brave and a person that wouldn't cry, was now standing right there in front of me with tears rolling down his face. For the first time in 40 years, I loved me. I loved me. The real me. The me that existed before somebody came along and told me I was not worth loving. I had power. And it was a power that meant nothing about ego. That power is that power that exists within each and every one of us when we're born, before the world has the possibility of chipping any of it away. I was crying tears of joy, and as he began to cry, I just looked at myself. The lines of darkness, the pain, the hatred, all of it was gone. I was nothing less than a miracle. I was reprogrammed by Spirit. That broken, tormented girl that had ruled my life, who lived in self-destruction, was now healed. She was now transformed into a powerful, loving warrior who is now on a mission to transform and heal others. Well, now we're going to move forward to right now, and I have to tell you, even though everything has changed, and I look through the world in a different set of eyes and a different recognition, I constantly live in a state of correction. I have to always think about and acknowledge where my thoughts and where my actions are coming from. Am I being nice to myself? I am now more conscious and ready to correct myself from harmful and negative thinking. Are my thoughts really mine, or are they those that were implanted? I still work on intelligence and worthiness blocks. I have to remind myself to not be so self-critical, to let go of the need to be defensive. Knowing what to look for and recognize is the first part of reprogramming, which we are all capable of doing. And as I'm telling you this right now, I'm giving you tools that you can recognize within yourself. What are your realities as you speak? Are these your realities, or is this something that was implanted by someone else? What are you telling yourself? Are these thoughts that are powerful, that give you courage, that give you energy, that give you self-worth? Or are you listening to somebody else's realities that chip away at who you really are? And if you're anything less than perfect, they're not your reality. The second part is knowing what you need to replace in the programming once something is removed. Generally, reprogramming has something to do with positive affirmations such as, I am smart, I can, I will, I deserve, I forgive, I am enough, I am love. We all have different experiences in our lives that create our sense of what love is, who we are, and what we're worthy of having. But is this created from our outward experience, created by others, and not our real truth or our real selves? Reprogramming consists of recognizing what was planted in our own belief system, opposed to what we were born with. What is our true beauty? What is our true self? A long time ago, I came to the realization that this is one of the reasons that I had to go through these difficult experiences in my life, so that I can now, in turn, reach out and help others. I am here to help reprogram, to help them to know their true selves, as well as the importance of worthiness on all levels. I'm sharing my experience in this way so that you can look back on your own life. Perhaps timeline where your thoughts and patterns may have changed. Every experience is very individual and very important. Never, ever compare your life experiences to anyone else's. Huge, right here, huge. Don't ever look at your children. Don't ever look at your sister. Don't ever look at your mother. Don't look at anyone else and say, your life doesn't matter, your experiences aren't that big because I've made it through worse. That is the worst thing you can do to someone. You don't know what their bar is. Even though I had a difficult rock, hill, mountain, whatever it is to climb, it has no effect on what anyone else has had to overcome in their own experience. You can never compare yourself to anyone else. And don't even bother to do it. You can have a car accident with 10 people there, and all those witnesses will come up with a different explanation of what they saw. You need to look at your own bar. You need to look at your own issues that you've overcome and be proud of yourself. And even if somebody else has gone through something or came through something, you know, you've got to give them their kudos. You have to say to them, that's amazing. Just because they didn't go through what you went through doesn't mean that they haven't gone through a hell of a lot on their own. You need to recognize whatever each and every person has gone through on their path. Recognize their strength. Recognize where they're going as a separate individual entity. But the reality is, we're all in it together. It doesn't matter if your life has been more or less extreme than someone else's. The outcomes of thinking, positive or negative, our perceptions, our attitudes, in some way are all still connected. Sometimes it seems that when you meet someone who is so self-absorbed or seems to love only their self, we may be tempted to judge them or make fun of them. You know that person who's like
says, oh, I've done that. I've been there. I've had that experience. We all know them. But before you make fun of them or not want to be around them, think about this. If this is true in any aspect of your life or someone you know, I invite you to step out of your judgment long enough to consider that if what that self-absorbed person may be displaying on the outside may just be a facade to cover up their own emptiness and lack of self-love. Maybe they have a deep fear of being rejected. Not allowing others into your life is a way of keeping yourself safe from being rejected. So those who push with the most friction sometimes are the ones who need it the most. So today, now these are all my thoughts, all my words, all my experience, but I want to share something out of here that really connects. And this is a fabulous little book. It's called Love Without Conditions, and it's written by Pyle. This is what this book looks like, and this fits so perfectly, and I want to read this to you. Eliminating scarcity thinking. Scarcity thinking results from your perception that you are not worthy of love. If you do not feel worthy of love, you will project lack on the outside of you. You will see the glass is half empty rather than half full. If you see the glass as half empty, do not be surprised if before too long there is nothing left in your glass. Lack is the result of negative perception. Of course, the same principle works in reverse. See the glass as half full, and it won't be long before it is filled to the brim. When you know that you are worthy of love, you tend to interpret the words and the actions of others in a loving way. You do not easily take offense, and if someone is rude to you, you consider the possibility that maybe they're having a bad day. Then you don't feel victimized or abused. How you view life depends on whether you feel lovable or unlovable, worthy or unworthy. Either way, you will create an external situation which reinforces your opinion of yourself. All preoccupation with supply comes from a living in the past. Lack is simply the remembrance of old wounds. These are too easily projected into the future. To end scarcity, thinking you must forgive the past, whatever it has been, no longer matters. It no longer has effect because you have released it. So this is a heavy topic, and I really hope, I told myself, if I walk away from this lecture today, and it has meaning to one person, then I've done what I needed to do. I'll never be done. But I just want to remind you, if you see yourself as anything less than the phenomenal, amazing, beautiful, worthy, loving, spiritual human being that you are, take a look at yourself and find out who changed that thought. When did that perception change for you? And reprogram yourself. Because the way you feel about yourself and the way that you feel about others is exactly what you attract into your life. And as I stand up here, seeing all these beautiful faces that have helped sustain and program my life, I'm amazed at the beauty that surrounds me
constantly. Thank you.